but I am free.
Muhammad Ali. Tune in or stream. Starts Sunday, September 19th at 8/7 Central, only on PBS.
A war memorial makes a stop in Athens to honor fallen heroes. How a historic railway has impacted Appalachia for more than a century. And in sports, an Ohio basketball star's dream came true last night as he's going to play professionally. Newswatch starts right now. Good evening and welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. I'm Curtis Fader. Ohio's COVID numbers are higher than they've been in 2 months as the number of new vaccinations remains stagnant. Confirmed cases dropped a bit yesterday to just under 800 new cases. That's down from over 1,000 new confirmed cases the day before, the highest number of confirmed cases since May 7th. Only about a third of the state's total population was vaccinated in May, and just over 45% of the total population is fully vaccinated now. For the first time since June, total cases have climbed above 50 per 100,000 residents. That was the threshold set in March by Governor Mike DeWine to end the statewide mask mandate, but DeWine says that there's no appetite to reinstitute a mask mandate. A traveling exhibition begins a national memorial to the edge of Ohio University's campus in Athens. Taylor Burnett is there on the scene.
Thanks, Curtis. Behind me is the Wall That Heals, a replica of the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. Athens residents and others from across the region have gathered to mourn loved ones or even to pay their respects to strangers.
Maya Lin's famous monument returns to her hometown once again, bringing a chance for closure, healing, and remembering the 58,000 men and women who were killed during the Vietnam War. The wall was escorted into town with a motorcade of over 150 motorcycle riders, first responders, and others as it made its way from Nelsonville to the Plains, then up Court Street. This version of the memorial is supported by only 2 full-time staff members, says Dean Murphy, a site manager for the Wall That Heals.
It takes about 40 volunteers or better to install the wall. We cannot do it by ourselves. If it was not for them, we could not do it. A number of them return, bringing their families, and we'll walk along the wall. There's a couple of them walking along the wall right now that actually helped set this up. And now they actually get a little time to reflect on it.
Along with the volunteers, the Ohio University wrestling team also turned out on Wednesday evening to help put up the wall. The names are sorted by the date they were killed, but are in alphabetical order for each day. In addition to the wall, the exhibit features a traveling museum featuring a number of items left at the Washington, D.C. Memorial, alongside information about people from each area the museum travels to, changing depending on place. On the wall, there are 31 names listed of people killed in action from Athens County. Robert Van Nest is one of the many people from Athens County directly affected by the Vietnam War. His stepbrother, Frank Miller Jr., was killed in action. Van Nest was 15, and Miller was deployed at only 18.
Things didn't go well, and he lasted just over a month.
He was never really worried about Frank when he left home, because he was a good shot, but says his death left a lifelong impact on him. Van Nest made it a goal to continue honoring the memory of people from Athens County who lost their lives to the war.
And that's what I want the most, is for them to be remembered. So I put their names and faces up everywhere I can so that they are remembered.
As he took in the memorial, Van Nest clutched a white binder filled with handwritten notes and photos about the deceased from Athens County. On his Facebook page, he posts about each of the people on their birthdays and the day they were killed in action. He's helped assemble the wall and placed the panel with his stepbrother's name on it. When he isn't volunteering, he is still at the wall, taking rubbings of his stepbrother's name along with the others from Athens County who were killed. For volunteers like Steve Chicky, the wall is a reminder of the nation's past and treating people with compassion.
It reminds me of what took place. It was it's a time nobody liked.
6 months before he was killed.
And it's to remind people they were, not to hate the warrior. You can hate the war, but don't hate the warrior.
The wall is open 24 hours a day until 2 p.m. Sunday, with volunteers on hand even late into the hours of the night to teach and answer questions. Saturday at 7 a.m., there will be a roll call for those killed in Athens County. For Newswatch, I'm Taylor Burnett in Athens.
Well, it certainly has been a beautiful day outside, a little on the hotter side, but still just a beautiful day. This week in Athens, we will see low chances of precipitation each day, with many of the days either partly cloudy or mostly cloudy. We do have a few days here and there of sunny days, but and otherwise with the temperature high mid 80s, and those winds won't be too strong, so probably won't cool us down much as we go through the week. Right now in Athens, 79 degrees, a little on the cooler side, much cooler than we've been seeing past weeks, with that sun shining and those low winds, which again aren't giving us too much of a cool breeze throughout our area. Right now in our southeastern Ohio region, 79 in New Martinsville, 78 in Chillicothe. We have some high temperatures, 82 in Ironton, and we get a little lower as we head toward the north with 77 in Cambridge and 78 in Newark. But overall, sunny and cool throughout our southeastern region. And over to you, Curtis.
Thanks, Benjamin. Our sunny weather is a lot better than what's been happening in the Ohio Valley yesterday, where 2 tornadoes touched down. The first hit in New Athens in Harrison County, and the second in the Wintersville area of Jefferson County. They ripped apart homes and downed trees and power lines. There are no reports of injuries, and the New Athens fire chief says the community is coming together to help after the storm.
21 years, and this is the worst I've ever seen, and you know, everybody's out checking on everybody's small town, which big storms, that does happen. Quite often everybody goes out and checks on everybody. So, you know, we're blessed to have that in our community. So, you know, everybody's coming out to help what they can do and make things safe for everybody.
A university in Ohio takes action against hazing, and behind the history of the Hocking Valley tracks. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
8,000 warriors built for eternity, evidence of an advanced ancient empire.
No two are demonstrably the same.
The Chinese crossbow is 2 millennia ahead of its time.
Who created it, and at what cost?
He was a cruel tyrant. We're seeing an entire culture revealed to us.
The implications are enormous for archaeology.
Emperor's Ghost Army on Nova.
Queer and trans youth of color transformed the Christopher Street Pier into their own sanctuary. In the face of homelessness and homophobia, 3 friends find joy and hope through bonds of chosen family. An intimate portrait of a raw side of New York City that many choose to ignore. Pier Kids on POV.
On Secrets of the Dead, the most significant Viking grave ever found.
This is perhaps the most spectacular burial in this whole field. It doesn't just have weapons, it has all the weapons.
Everything you need to be a professional warrior. And we now know that this warrior was actually a woman.
Viking Warrior Queen on Secrets of the Dead.
Nature's 3-part series continues, from the oldest desert in Africa to the highest mountain on Earth. Cats are leading extraordinary lives. They are acrobats in the jungle and opportunists on the beach. Big or small, cats have conquered the planet.
Three students were expelled and 17 suspended from Bowling Green State University for code of conduct violations. The investigation began after the hazing related to the death of student Stone Foltz. A statement released by the university says the 21 students were collectively found responsible for 83 violations of their code of student conduct, including hazing, harm to and endangering others, and furnishing alcohol. BGSU's Presidential Working Group on Anti-Hazing released a report outlining their work to combat hazing and improve their partnership with law enforcement. This comes after Governor Mike DeWine signed Collins Law, an anti-hazing bill. Ohio's House Minority Leader Amelia Skies says Republican state lawmakers are taking a page from a national playbook as they try to reform voting. In a teleconference with Democratic U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, Sykes says Ohio's leaders could be making voting easier, for example, by adding ballot drop boxes, but she said that they're going in another direction by making it harder to vote.
These attacks are part of a nationwide effort to push baseless conspiracy theories and the big lie, and they threaten the very foundation of our democracy to protect a delusional man who refuses to accept the results of an election.
Sykes said voting reform legislation under consideration by Congress would protect all voters in Ohio. Republicans at the State House say more needs to be done to protect Ohio's voting systems from possible fraud and outside intervention, adding 2 related provisions to the new state budget. But a Democratic lawmaker has introduced a bill that would repeal both of those provisions. The Hocking Valley Scenic Railway has been a part of Ohio's history for more than 150 years. I visited the railroad to document how it has progressed over time. The Hocking Valley Scenic Railway was founded in 1864, originally as the Mineral Railroad, responsible for transporting coal and salt between Columbus and Athens. The brick industry blossomed soon after. The railway introduced their first freight trains and regular passenger services 5 years later, and after several name changes and mergers, it became the Hocking County Railway in 1899, the largest independent railroad in Ohio. As the years passed, things began to decline for railways everywhere, including this one, as they had to shut down in the early 1980s. But in 1985, this line was reacquired for tourism purposes, and at the early going, they had to get a loan to start each season. But now, the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway has become so popular that it is now widely known across the state as the only railway in Ohio to have a standard gauge steam locomotive. The railway's operation and maintenance are run mostly by volunteers. Assistant Chief Engineer Frank Brose has been working on the railroad for 26 years and is one of the only paid staff members who help put the volunteers to work.
Most of the volunteers we have come in, they have usually some kind of knowledge or they want to learn something, and we'll bring them in here and work with them to do whatever they want to learn how to do. I mean, we'll teach them to do different stuff, to run equipment, to, help whatever, if they're interested in doing this kind of work.
For the past 36 years, the railway has provided many different types of excursions, including the friendliest train robbery. Its most popular attraction is the steam train, an authentic 1920 coal-fired steam locomotive. It runs about a dozen times a year and requires more work to get it prepared to leave the yard.
It takes a more crew to operate it. It takes more time getting it ready. We'll spend between 4 and 6 hours ahead of time getting the steam engine ready compared to the diesel.
The public enjoys it too, as they are whisked away across the countryside with a stop in the middle to take photos. Passengers are grateful to be able to have the experience of riding on a train.
My grandfather in Philadelphia used to take us for train rides, actually historic train rides, and I was the same age as Lucci, my grandson.
Wow. So what does this railway mean to you to be able to continue to ride it now?
I was just saying to my daughter in the car behind us that, there aren't going to be opportunities like this when she's grown and older, that she really ought to enjoy opportunities now because this kind of equipment may not be around forever.
The Hocking Valley Scenic Railway is still running smoothly and is open to accepting more volunteers. As for the steam engine,
this train is still running strong.
If you wish to get a ticket or ride or volunteer, go to hvsry.org. An artist took her craft to Nelsonville this week. That story still ahead.
And how hot can we expect it to get this week? Find out next in my full weather forecast. But first, here's a look at stocks of local interest.
queer and trans youth of color transformed the Christopher Street Pier into their own sanctuary. In the face of homelessness and homophobia, three friends find joy and hope through bonds of chosen family. An intimate portrait of a raw side of New York City that many choose to ignore. Pier Kids on POV.
On Secrets of the Dead, the most significant Viking grave ever found.
This is perhaps the most spectacular burial in this whole field. It doesn't just have weapons, it has all the weapons.
Everything you need to be a professional warrior. And we now know that this warrior was actually a woman.
Viking Warrior Queen on Secrets of the Dead.
He was the world's fastest human.
The quintessential Olympic hero.
But his triumph was in more than just a race.
The Olympics were to be a symbol of German racial superiority. Hitler was absolutely livid.
After winning all those gold medals, he expected the whole nation to love him. And here, the greatest athlete in America is being treated shabbily.
Jesse Owens on American Experience. On American Experience. In the shadow of a world war, they were reluctant symbols of their people.
We invested so much in Joe Louis.
But when they stepped into the ring, the world stopped and watched two men, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, fight for the title of champion. The fight on American Experience.
Good evening, I'm your forecaster, Benjamin Byers. Well, we've certainly had an absolutely beautiful day today. That sun was shining, and we can see right now as we take a look outside our tower cam out at the Ohio University campus, we still see those that sunny sky that we've seen all day today. It's a little hot, and the humidity is making it a little unbearable outside, but it's still an absolutely beautiful day. Taking a look right now in Athens, 79 degrees, and again, that's sunny, that sky has the sun in it, and it's coming down on the land with those low winds, but that wind coming through our area, not giving us much of a cool down as we would hopefully like. Right now in our southeastern Ohio region, 79 in Columbus. We get cooler as we get more to the north, 77 in Cambridge, 78 in Newark, but we see higher temperatures, 82 in Ironton, 80 in Jackson. But again, those sunny skies persist throughout our area. Tonight in Athens, 58 degrees, so we'll cool down a bunch, but those almost clear skies will remain with winds light and variable, so those winds shouldn't be too much of a problem for tonight. And again, we cool down throughout our southeastern area with 57 in Newark, 62 in Ironton, 57 in Chillicothe, and 58 in Marietta. So overall, a cool night is ahead for us in our southeastern region. Hour by hour for tonight, 8 p.m., 76 degrees, 10 p.m., 68 degrees, and 12 a.m., 65 degrees. So not too much of a temperature change as we get through the night, but we can see those clouds will start to roll in a bit, making the sky a little less clear, but still going to be a beautiful night. And with our radar map, again, we could see that what's causing those sunny skies, not a lot of clouds in our area, and definitely not a lot of rain either. 7-day forecast for the week ahead. Saturday, mostly cloudy skies. Sunday, we see those partly cloudy skies, but Monday, those clouds start to leave us. But Friday, we can start to see chances of thunderstorms in our area, but those mid-80 degree temperatures will remain with us throughout the week. And over to you, Brian.
Well, my name's Curtis, but thank you there, Ben. A well-known artist finished her art residency in Nelsonville today. Madison Moore reports on her week at the Paper Circle.
Most people buy paper prepackaged in the store,
But artists at Paper Circle make paper by hand. Paper Circle in Nelsonville is hosting the nationally known printer and multimedia artist Delita Martin this week for a paper-making residency.
Well, I was invited by Paper Circle to come in and learn to make paper, and I was really excited about it because that's something that I've been wanting to do like forever, and so the opportunity presented itself and I snatched it up as quickly as I could.
Before the pandemic, Paper Circle Executive Director Barbara Scout-Erie met Martin at her one-woman show in Washington, D.C.
And I just loved her work, and so I waited in the queue till it was my turn, and I spoke to her and I said, "Have you ever made handmade paper?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, you need to come to Paper Circle and make paper." So here she is.
One sheet of handmade paper takes a week to make, and the key factor is the beater.
But I love this. This is my baby because, as they say in the handmade paper world, that paper's made in the beater. So this is crucial.
During her residency, Martin will be incorporating her artistic visions onto the handmade paper. Her artwork is heavily layered, and her portraits are very large scale.
My work features African American women. Most of my work is 6 foot and 5 feet large pieces. So I work in printmaking, I work in painting, I work in drawing and letterpress, and all of these different things you'll find in one piece of work.
Her goal is to create pieces that act as a visual language.
I love creating and I love sharing with individuals, but I think I'm a visual storyteller, and I feel like my responsibility as an artist is to share the Black female experience of, what it's like to exist in our bodies.
Martin is one of the founding members of Black Women of Print.
It's an organization that really focuses on documenting African American women printmakers because there hasn't been that documentation historically.
Martin plans on giving her completed artwork to the gallery at the end of her residency. For Newswatch, I'm Madison Moore in Nelsonville.
Happy Friday, everybody. Coming up in sports, Bloom Carroll football returns a lot of its players from the Final Four run last year. The full story on why the Bulldogs are looking ahead to this fall later on. And right after the break, from an unranked high school basketball player to an NBA draft pick, Jason Preston's dream came true last night. That and more is coming up next on Newswatch. And make sure you stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
Queer and trans youth of color transformed the Christopher Street Pier into their own sanctuary. In the face of homelessness and homophobia, 3 friends find joy and hope through bonds of chosen family. An intimate portrait of a raw side of New York City that many choose to ignore. Pier Kids on POV.
"8,000 warriors built for eternity, evidence of an advanced ancient empire."
No two are demonstrably the same.
The Chinese crossbow is 2 millennia ahead of its time.
Who created it, and at what cost?
He was a cruel tyrant. We're seeing an entire culture revealed to us.
The implications are enormous for archaeology.
Emperor's Ghost Army on Nova.
On Secrets of the Dead, the most significant Viking grave ever found.
This is perhaps the most spectacular burial in this whole field. It doesn't just have weapons, it has all the weapons.
Everything you need to be a professional warrior. And we now know that this warrior is actually a woman.
Viking Warrior Queen on Secrets of the Dead.
On American Experience, in the shadow of a world war, they were reluctant symbols of their people.
We invested so much in Joe Louis.
But when they stepped into the ring, the world stopped and watched 2 men, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, fight for the title of Champion. The Fight on American Experience.
Welcome back. I'm Brian Kerp. Jason Preston had no Division I offers until he put his highlight reel on Twitter. Ohio was one of 2 schools that offered him. He came to Athens and turned himself into an NBA player. Preston was drafted 33rd overall in last night's draft. He is heading out to Los Angeles to play for the Clippers. Preston is the first Bobcat drafted since 2003 and the highest drafted player out of Ohio since Gary Trent was drafted 11th overall in 1995. Tune into Newswatch next week, to hear what Preston's former head coach had to say about him getting drafted. Now, over the past several years, Ohio baseball has been known to have solid pitching and defense with timely hitting. Craig Moore has been part of the program for the past 9 years, but this upcoming year is his first as head coach. Will Moore and Ohio keep that same philosophy moving forward?
I think it'll depend on our personnel. Sometimes you adapt to the personnel you have on the field or on the roster. I do believe, though, I think as far as universal across the board, most coaches will tell you that pitching and defense is what's going to keep you in games. It's going to give you an opportunity to win games late.
Moore is looking forward to getting the team back together this fall to see what they have. The Bloom Carroll football team made a historic run in the state playoffs last fall. Now the Bulldogs are retooling and preparing for another successful season. In a shortened 2020 season, Bloom Carroll won its 3rd straight Mid-State League title, had an undefeated regular season, and appeared in its first state Final Four game. With a normal 2021 season set to kick off soon, Coach Wade Bartholomew and his squad are ready to get back on the field.
I know we had a season, it was awesome, but it was kind of a depressive season in a sense. You couldn't really hang out with the kids or get to know them or really spend that kind of quality time. Knowing that it's all kind of back to normal just makes everything so much sweeter.
The Bulldogs returned 2 All-State defensive backs in Brandon Totten and Bo Wisecarver. They led one of the strongest defensive units in the state a year ago.
Our expectations are the same, but probably a lot higher, because like I said, we're returning most of our starters on defense. So our goal is just to keep lowering that points per game and average just to make it easier on offense.
Wisecarver and Totten will also be impact players for Bloom Carroll's offense. Returning QB1 KJ Benedict says their experience is a major asset.
All the seniors, juniors that we have that have played in those big games, and we know that'll take us a long way whenever we do get there. So just having players that have played there, it just makes us that much more prepared.
While the Bulldogs have lofty goals, Bartholomew says it's important to stay focused every day.
Our kids have different expectations. The community, I think, has different expectations. But I think we as a coaching staff, the thing that we can do is keep our kids humble and grounded and know that we got to get to August 2nd and just work really hard.
The Bulldogs open up fall practice on August 2nd. They will kick off their season on August 20th at Highland. I'm Brian Kerp, and that's it for sports. Back over to you, Curtis.
Thank you, Brian. A sanitation route in Minnesota has become home to a special friendship. 2-year-old Elliot White loves the garbage truck, and every Thursday, Elliot waits for his favorite driver to come down his grandparents' street and say hello. Jeff Weber says these short visits make his day. Elliot brings Weber snacks and water, and the driver returned the favor by giving Elliot his own company hat. After surviving a scary battle with COVID, Weber cherishes these special moments every week.
And let's take a final look at your weather for tonight. 8 p.m. 76 degrees, 10 p.m. 68 degrees. So we'll cool down quite a bit, but those skies will remain for the most part pretty clear, so it should be a beautiful night outside tonight. Tomorrow in Athens, 78 degrees, mostly cloudy skies, so that sun will pop out here and there, but overall there'll be clouds in the sky, and those winds not really gonna cool us down a bunch as it comes through our area for tomorrow. Hour by hour for our morning commute. We start off the day 6 a.m., 59 degrees. It's cool, but as we get to 10 a.m., heats up quite a bit with those partly cloudy skies still remaining, so the clouds begin to clear as we get through our morning. Taking a look at the 7-day forecast for the week ahead. Tomorrow, cloudy skies, and we can also see those clouds remain to Sunday. And over to you, Curtis.
Thanks, Ben. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thank you for watching. I'm Curtis Fader, and please stay tuned to WOUB. Have a great night.